Good morning and welcome to Self-Care Sunday, where we explore what it means to fill our own cups. Please say hi so that I know you are here, whether you're watching live or in the replay. So one of the requests that I get most often is, how do I say no? People tell me that they can feel every part of their body screaming no, but then still hear themselves saying yes, and then spending so much energy agonizing over it. So I'm going to share my 2 no BS methods for making an empowered choice, which is the choice that is most in alignment with your true self. And then we're going to move into courageous communication, including how to say yes while really saying no. Because before we decide whether we are going to say yes or no, we first need to be very clear on which option is most in alignment with what matters most to us. So the first method of making an empowered choice is really just to think the choices through. I call this yes means no. The whole issue here is that we don't want to say no, right? So we don't want to say no to our boss or to our kids or even our preferred lifestyle. So the point of this exercise is to realize that saying yes to one thing actually means saying no to something else, always. Like if you say yes to the extra thing at work, what are you saying no to? Maybe you are saying no to a reasonable workload or a reasonable amount of stress. Maybe you are saying no to having or to saving your best self for your family, who are going to have to deal with you with your increased stress. Or if you have to stay late, maybe you are saying no to dinner with your family. And this is hard because our old programming is going to jump in right away, likely relating to just the yes-no conundrum in front of you, just the question of whether to take on that extra thing at work. And that can feel overwhelming. Like it can shout, prove your worth, be useful, this will be fun. What will other people think of you if you don't take it? They will be mad. They will think you are weak or selfish or not a team player. It might be telling you that you will be letting your team down if you say no. And so you're sitting there, kind of mouth open, and everyone is looking at you and waiting for a response. And you've got all of this going on inside of your head. And so now I'm going to jump to courageous communication for a second, because this is where you buy yourself some time by saying something like, I need to take a look at my other priorities and I will get back to you by the end of the day. Sometimes you need time to step back and not let your panicking old programming run the show, because it will put a lot of pressure on you. It wants you to be quick, be liked, be accepted, answer now. Don't make them wait. But we are committed to our true selves running the show, right? Because that's how we move into our best life. So we are not going to let the old programming run the show. We need to tap into our true selves so that we can examine what we're actually saying yes to and no to with each of our responses. Okay, so that brings us to technique number 2. Changing our option, that the one option that the programming gives us, to multiple options that we can choose from. I call this should to could. So in this case, you should take on this extra thing becomes, I could take on this extra thing, or what else could you do? I could say no entirely. I could ask to defer it. I could ask for guidance on my priorities. Or I could maybe take on part of the task. The point here is that there are lots of options, not just what your programming would have you believe. And when you take a step back, then you can examine each option and see which one feels better. You can even combine the yes-no technique with the could-should technique and ask yourself, what are you saying no to, which with each of the choices that you just listed? Okay, and then you can feel into which one feels better for you and make a choice in alignment with your true self. But then you're going to have to follow through on one of your chosen options, which moves us into our courageous communication. So the point of courageous communication is to be very clear on your needs without all of the extra blah, 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 or excuses or placations. When we're feeling uncomfortable, like when we're using our voice, which sometimes goes against our old programming, or when we're saying no, which also goes against our old programming, we need to remember and sink into the idea that we are working to create newer and truer programs. But when we're doing this, it's hard and our communication can get all discombobulated. We start throwing in explanations that don't need to be there. There is a reason that so many boundary setting advocates will tell you that no is a complete sentence, because we have this urge to word vomit all over our answers, which leaves the door open for all sorts of things like a lack of clarity, where the person on the other end is confused about what it is you're even trying to tell them. It also leaves the door open for your old programming to just sneak in there and come out with something, oh, but I can if you really need me to. And you're like, oops, like, did I really just say that? Damn it. And it also opens the door to emotions. It is easy to get a little bit panicky the more and more you talk. And the more and more you talk, the more opportunity your old programming and your true self have to kind of stare each other down. And it's overwhelming for you. Pulling out clear, courageous communication of your needs is going to help reduce all of that internal conflict. So what does it actually sound like? Okay, well, imagine that you decide in the example that we just talked about that you would be able to take on part of the task, but not all of it. So you would just say that. You would say something like, okay, I would be able to do part A within the next few weeks, but I will not be able to address part B until priority C is complete. That's it. No lengthy explanations of why. No details about how much time priority C is taking in your day and excuses about why you can't take on that second part of the task that you're talking about. No finger pointing at other colleagues that maybe you perceive to be less busy or should be taking this task on. Just your decision in one sentence. So now I'm going to share my absolute favorite courageous communication technique. Saying yes so that your boss hears yes and your coworkers hear yes, but really you're saying no. You are saying yes to helping, but no to the parts of it that you don't want, like an overwhelming workload. So here's what it sounds like. Sure, I would love to take on task A, but let's take a look at my workload and see what I can put aside in order to get this done for you. Or at home, it might sound like, yes, partner, I will book that appointment for you. Here are the 3 things that I had planned to do this afternoon. Which one will you take on so that I will have time to do that? The point of courageous communication is that you decide on what you will and will not compromise on, and then communicate that clearly to the person who needs to hear it. All right, let's see what it sounds like in real life. I had a friend who was completely exhausted from work, flirting with burnout, and looking forward to a quiet weekend at home. Then his wife called and told him that her family had planned a barbecue dinner on Saturday night at her parents' house, and that it's going to take up most of their Saturday. And could he please stop at the store on the way home to pick up some things that she would need in order to help make food for the event? And he responded with, "Sure, honey, of course, dear." And he got off the phone, his shoulders sagged. And he kind of stared blankly at his computer screen for a while. "You okay?" I asked. And he said, "Yep, all good." And we both went back to work. And so the next day, we found ourselves in the office kitchen getting coffee at the exact same time. And he knows what I do. And he decided to tell me about his predicament. He said, "Hey, Christina, my wife has planned this family event this weekend, and I don't want to go. I am so tired. We have something every weekend, and with 2 young kids, it feels like I am always on the go. I feel so conflicted. I don't want to let my wife or her family down. I don't want to be seen as selfish, but I also know that I can't keep up this pace. What should I do?" And I could see that this was eating at him. I could see the desire of his programmed self to make everyone happy was at war with the desires of his true self, who was telling him that he needed to slow down. And so now, my blissfully busy boundary buffs, what should he do? Okay, wait a minute. No shoulds. No, what should he do? What could he do? Not obvious enough? Okay, let's follow the process. He can change his shoulds to a list of coulds. So I should go to the barbecue becomes, I could go to the barbecue, or I could stay home. I could go to some of it, part of it, or I could have a conversation with my wife and come up with a solution together. So if he looks at each of these options, what is he saying yes and no to? If he chooses to go to the barbecue, he's saying no to rest. If he chooses not to go to the barbecue, he's saying yes to rest, but he's saying no to supporting his wife. Neither of those options felt great to him. If he chooses to go to some of the barbecue, then he's saying yes to family and yes to rest, and that's feeling pretty okay. And then the last one, if he has a conversation with his wife, he's also saying yes to open communication and giving her an opportunity to express her needs as well. And that feels like the best option for him. Okay, fantastic. So he's made his decision. Who knew that that actually was going to be the easy part? Because now he has to communicate that, and that can be tough. But coming up with your clear and courageous communication in advance can really help. There's also no right or wrong way to do this. Like face-to-face is not the only option. He could do a whole new list of coulds about how he's going to communicate with his wife. But he's chosen face-to-face, and he's chosen to do it tonight after the kids go to bed. So what can he say? How about something like, "I feel super depleted and I need to find a way to rest so that I don't burn out. I was looking forward to a quiet weekend, and I'm worried that having to socialize at the barbecue will be too much for me. I want to support you, and I know that you're tired too. Would you be willing to brainstorm with me to see how we can work together to meet both of our needs?" And hopefully, he has a partner who's willing to work this out with him. So setting boundaries is never easy, but it feels much better when the boundaries are in alignment with your true values. And so when my friend first spoke to me, he thought his only 2 options were to suck it up and go, or to disappoint his wife and not go. Both of those felt wrong, and he felt stuck, and he was in this conundrum of trying to make a decision between two options that didn't feel good to him, and that was taking up his energy. By taking the time to come up with options and feel into which options felt best to him, he was able to find a solution that was energetically aligned and felt good to him. And the more he does that, the easier it becomes. And he's opening up the door for his wife to do the same, which is going to deepen their connection and trust with each other. So doing this inner work is completely transformative, and it has a huge ripple effect into so many areas of your life. I hope that you learned some new tools to keep your battery full and to not let issues like this empty your cup at the replenishment retreat this past week. And if you are ready to take a deep dive into your old programming and learn the tools to move you permanently from a place of overwhelm to a place of alignment, the doors to the Bridge to Your Best Life program are open until tomorrow at midnight. This is a 6-month group program that will give you a step-by-step process to uncover what's holding you back and help you find the calm in your chaos. If you're curious about how this would work for your personal situation, or you'd like to work through a personal challenge that you're having, I invite you to book a 30-minute heart-to-heart call with me. It truly lights me up to support you on your journey, so never hesitate to grab a spot in my calendar. The link is in the header of this group. Thanks for joining us today, and have a wonderful rest of your day.